There are 5 major development projects happening in Seattle right now that are going to change which neighborhoods are worth actually buying in. Even buyers who have done extensive research don't know about all of them. And the buyers who do know are making decisions based on information that most people don't know yet. Here's why this matters. Where you buy in Seattle in 2026 isn't just about what the neighborhood looks like today. It's about what it looks like when the infrastructure around it changes. Light rail access, density, upzoning, major employer footprints. All of these move home values in advance of the actual change itself before most buyers realize it's happening. The people who've done best in Seattle real estate over the last 20 years are disproportionately people who bought in corridors where something was about to happen. Here's what's actually in motion right now. Project 1 is East Link Light Rail. Sound Transit's East Link extension connecting downtown Seattle to Bellevue and Redmond is the largest transit expansion in the Pacific Northwest history. When fully operational, you can get from Capitol Hill to downtown Bellevue in approximately 20 minutes without touching a car. And that is a fundamental change to the commute math for thousands of tech workers currently making East Side versus Seattle housing decisions based on driving distance and that traffic. The neighborhoods that benefit most in this scenario are Capitol Hill, First Hill, South Lake Union, and Judkins Park, all of which now have direct rail connections to the major East Side employment centers. Buyers who work at Microsoft, Amazon in Bellevue, Expedia, or any of the major East Side campuses can now realistically live in Seattle and commute by train in under 30 minutes. And that completely changes the demand equation for those Seattle side neighborhoods in a way that will continue to show up in prices over the next several years. Project 2 is the Northgate redevelopment. The Northgate light rail station has been open for several years now. What's happening around it is the development cycle that follows transit investment, and it's still in its early stages, which means there's still a lot of opportunity. Residential towers and mixed-use developments and retail redevelopment are actively in the process around the Northgate station area. Northgate has historically been undervalued relative to other North Seattle neighborhoods because it lacked walkability and neighborhood identity. The transit access is changing that. Buyers who are looking in North Seattle, like Greenwood, Crown Hill, Licton Springs, should be evaluating Northgate as part of the comparison right now before the new supply is fully built out and priced in. Once the development cycle completes and the neighborhood is visibly transformed, the price discovery will have already happened. So get ahead of it. If you're looking in North Seattle or the East Side, or if you already own near a light rail station, I genuinely like to know what you're seeing on values and neighborhood change. Drop it in the comments below. These corridors move at different speeds, and I want to know what people on the ground are actually seeing. Project number 3 is the ADU upzoning. Washington's ADU legislation has continued to expand access to accessory dwelling units like backyard cottages, garage conversions, second units, with a lot fewer restrictions than existed even 3 years ago. In most Seattle neighborhoods now, property owners can build an ADU on a lot that has the space for it without the previous conditional use hurdles that made it very prohibitive and complicated. What this does to buyer math is it changes the value calculation on a meaningful number of single-family properties. If you're evaluating a home with a larger lot, a detached garage with maybe usable space above it, or a daylight basement that could be converted, run the ADU income number before you compare that home against a smaller lot option at the same exact price. A property that can generate $200 to $2,500 per month in ADU rental income is categorically different as far as an investment goes than one that can't do that. I've had buyers use this math to justify spending $80,000 more on a property because the potential income changed the total financial picture of the home. Project number 4 is the Waterfront Revitalization. The Seattle Waterfront Revitalization, the Alaska Way surface boulevard replacing the old elevated viaduct that blocked water access for decades, is now fully open and operational. If you haven't been to the Seattle Waterfront in the last 2 years, it is a completely different place. The promenade, the new connections to Pike Place Market, the park space, it's genuinely transformed. Properties on or near the waterfront were historically discounted because of the noise, the obstruction of the views and access limitations from the old viaduct have really been repriced, but the ripple effect into surrounding neighborhoods hasn't fully played out yet. Pioneer Square and the southern Belltown corridor, both adjacent to the waterfront improvements, still haven't fully priced in the new reality. There's value being discovered in those neighborhoods right now that I think will look obvious in 3 to 5 years, even if it doesn't today. Project number 5 is the South Lake Union continued expansion. Amazon's South Lake Union campus continues to expand, and the density of high-income employment concentrated in that corridor has an outward pricing effect on places like Capitol Hill, Eastlake, and the north part of downtown that has been building for a decade and is still ongoing. The employee population within walking distance of South Lake Union is one of the highest concentrations of high-earning workers of any neighborhood in the entire country. If you're evaluating a property within a 30-minute walk of South Lake Union, which includes a lot of Eastlake, Capitol Hill, Upper Belltown, and you're not thinking about the employment density as a permanent demand factor, you're missing part of the equation here. Amazon is not leaving South Lake Union. The companies that have built campuses adjacent to it are also not leaving. And the demand that creates for nearby housing is a structural feature of those neighborhoods, not necessarily a cycle. Which of these was new information to you? I build these videos based on what buyers tell me they didn't know was going on. So let me know in the comments if there's a specific project or development you've heard about that I didn't cover, and put that one in too. If you're 90 days out from buying in Seattle and doing your research, understand where infrastructure investments are going to be part of the due diligence that doesn't show up on Zillow. And if you're 30 days out and actively looking, these corridors are worth adding to your shortlist, even if they're not in your original search parameters. The best time to act on infrastructure-driven value is before the majority of buyers have connected the dots on this. And last, if you're thinking about buying in Seattle and you want to understand how these projects affect the specific neighborhoods that you're looking at right now, I help buyers work through exactly this. My contact information is below, and that meeting is free to schedule with me. There's also a video on this channel that walks through Seattle's ADU law change in detail, what exactly changed, what it means for buyers, and how to evaluate whether a specific property has ADU potential. That pairs directly with what I covered here about project number 3, and it's in the playlist, so check that one out next.